And here we go again. Week 3, the SAB video newsletter. Back at you. So this is Division Week. Oh yeah, Division Week. These are always the most intense weeks, the most fun. What's best about these games is that we've played each other in our division so many times. There's so many matchups. TPC and T-Bone, they've played 37 times in their history. Uncle Ron's and Joe Patown, 34 times. Dallas 40, North Dallas 40 and the Models, 23 times. Thunder and the Funk, 32 times. A-Train and Tough Nuts, 28 times. And the Bells, our youngest franchise, has played Underhill already 24 times. So, you play a lot of these teams twice a year. Everyone at this point has played everyone a bunch of times, but the division ones are always seem to be the biggest number. What's great about these divisions is the history that we have. I think in the future it's possible that we can go back to two divisions of 6, or even possibly no division, just one big 12-team league, and everyone fights for it, top 6. But that would be down the road. But I know there's talk amongst you guys about some situations with the buys and all that stuff, and the only way to really rectify that is to go to 2 divisions of 6, or no divisions at all, and it's just top 6 out of the 12. So, but that's for something later. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into these games. Our first game, the game of the week, Tough Nuts USA versus the A-Train Wreckers. Tough Nuts coming in as the preseason #1 team, still the #1 team after 2 amazing weeks, leads the league in scoring. The Wreckers started a little lower. I believe they were started at 8. And they have climbed all the way to number 3 after 2 impressive weeks here, starting the season at 2-0. So this is a really, really great first division week matchup here in the Knox between the Wreckers and Tough Nuts, 2 teams that have definite sights on that division win, the division title. So the matchups, let's get to the matchup here. Quarterbacks, we got Phillip Rivers versus Marcus Mariota. Rivers going against Kansas City right now. And Tennessee versus Seattle. Probably both tough matchups for those guys. So we'll see how much points they can provide. Both have been decent so far on the season, so they should get points there. Where this game is going to come down to is that 3-tiered monster, that 3-headed monster for Tough Nuts so far at the running back position with Hunt, Gurley, and McCoy. Last week it was McCoy who looked to be the weak link, yet Tough Nuts still scored over 130. But that's if Gurley is going to play the way he did last week, then forget about it. This is going to be a very, very nice season for Mr. Luray. Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, both were quiet last week, but can explode at any time. They have potential to be not just good, but explosive. In any given week. So you got to watch those guys. If they ever all coincide at once, it's going to be a high score for Mr. Luray, like we've already seen. Ertz, Walsh, and the Ravens D. Pretty good. Probably the weakest part of his team, but most of us, unless you have Gronkowski or Kelsey, those bottom 3 are always probably the weakest parts of your team. Unless your entire team sucks, then maybe they're the best parts of your team. I don't know. But the Wreckers, Rodgers, Hyde at the running back position, got a lot of work to do to keep up with those 2 sub-backs. But Hyde had a really good week last week in Seattle. Surprisingly, I definitely was surprised by that. It was another week where I didn't pick Olinsky. I picked Lender. I think it was Lender. Yeah, Lender. And, I was proven wrong once again. So I know Olinsky likes when I pick against him. And most likely I'm going to be picking against him again this week. But Mike Evans and Demaryius Thomas with Devontae Parker in there right now. So not bad, not a bad trio for Olinsky there. Very nice. That's going to provide points like they have so far this year. Rudolph, again, still just a solid scorer. Santos, a good kicker. And the Steelers D, who have at Chicago, who looks nice on paper, but you never know when you're on the road what you're going to get. So, these teams are not that far apart. I mean, Tusa definitely has the advantage. They've looked the best in the league so far. There's no doubt about it. And you got to roll with the hot team until they go cold. And I don't really see them going cold in the foreseeable future. You're just going to have to outscore them. You're just going to have to, outlast them and beat them. They could be beaten easily. You just got to hang in there with them. The site right now has Tough Nuts favored by about 4 and change, about 4.7. That's not awful. That's not a horrible spread. I'll make it a nice round number. I'm going to go Tough Nuts by 5 over the record. So you're welcome, Dave. I hope that helps you to the victory. So again, Tough Nuts by 5. And in our next game, we have the 0-2 40 squad versus the 0-2 Models squad. Can't even remember the last time the Models won a game. Feels like it's been 2 years since their last championship, maybe like 5 years ago. I don't even know. But nonetheless, 40 come in as the number 10 team in the league, and the Models are in the basement at number 12. So, well, the good news is here, one of you guys is going to win. There you go, unless you tie, which has happened once in our history. But it could, but you never know. So one of you should be 1-2, and the other one is going to be at 0-3, which is going to be a very deep hole to dig themselves out of. You don't want to be that 0-3 team, but it's still early, so we'll see what happens. But let's get to this game here. Quarterbacks, you got to go with the Models on this one. Aaron Rodgers versus Eli Manning. Eli Manning at Philly. The Giants just do not look good. They cannot protect Eli. The offensive line just can't do it. And when they do, when he actually manages to get a throw off, it seems like the receivers just drop the ball. So I don't know what to say about the Giants anymore. I can't even comment. But I think your Models are gonna have a big advantage here with Rodgers, who's home against the Bengals, who also look like complete shit. So not good there. Now the running backs for the 40, Ezekiel Elliott and Bell. I mean, these two guys are, on paper, they look, you would think that this team would just be, scoring, but they're not. So my concern here for the Models would be that maybe this is the week that Bell and Elliott finally combine to just do some damage, and they put up a ton of points and bring this 40 team its first victory. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. We haven't really seen it from Bell at all. This could be the week. You never know. So watch out for that. Cohen, Crowell, and Coleman. Look at that. The 3 C's. We call them the 3 C's over there for the Models. It's actually okay, but it's not, anything to write home about. But, they could potentially score, get some touchdowns. So you never know. Julio Jones, probably the best. He's got to be probably the most talented player of the non-quarterbacks here in this whole matchup. How does that relate to fantasy points? Well, usually for him, it's pretty good, but we'll see as Atlanta is taking on Detroit, who actually looks pretty good so far, 2-0. Defense actually looks pretty decent, so we'll see what they can do to Julio, and maybe they can contain that. Maybe the Lions can contain Julio for this matchup. But Crowder, he needs to do something. He hasn't really done anything yet, so he needs to wake up. Yeah, Benjamin and Watkins for the 40. You got to hope Benjamin's going to play. If not, Pasternak's going to have to go to his bench, just like Gronkowski here at tight end. He's battling that groin, and once again, he's injured. He didn't practice yesterday, Wednesday. So we'll see. Hopefully he's going to go. If not, he's going to have to turn to Doyle, who's got on his bench, which is not a bad option by any means. But, you don't want to lose Gronk. Trust me, I know. Then the defenses, you got Vikings and Dolphins. Fine. Their defenses, you're never going to really, unless there's just a really bad team coming in and a really good defense, it's hard to say that a defense is going to do really well. You just never know. These two teams, though, they're not too far apart. Like I said, someone's going to 0-3, and you don't want to be that team. Right now, the site has the Models favored by just under 2 points, about 1.5. I think that's kind of close, except I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the 40 favored by half a point, 0.5, 0.5. I actually wouldn't mind doing a pick'em, but I never really do pick'ems. I've never done a pick'em, and I always want to pick a team, so I'm going to go the 40 by half a point. The third matchup of the week features the number 2 Waffles versus the number 7 Jaguars. The Waffles come in at 2-0, while the Jaguars, who broke 100 last week, come in at 1-1. This matchup is usually pretty close. Waffles have that slight 2-game edge in the all-time series, but both these teams are usually in until the end in the Hartwick. One usually takes a division, the other one usually makes the playoffs. Obviously, there's years where that doesn't happen, but it seems like that's more often than not that they do. So on to this game here. Got the matchup of Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, similar style quarterbacks. Winston is got a tough matchup against the Vikings, while Cam is at home against the Saints, which can mean very good things for Cam. So I think that there's going to be an advantage there for the Waffles. With the running backs, Jaguars a little banged up with Murray, so right now he's got Forte in the lineup. I don't know if that's going to last. This running back starting running backs here might switch up, so it's going to be tough. But whoever's in there, there's not much of an advantage either way. I mean, Gordon and Freeman will probably just wind up canceling each other out. Both very good, both productive fantasy backs. And then the second back will probably, Allen for the Waffles, and whoever it is for the Jaguars. I mean, there's no advantage there. The receivers are pretty similar as well. They got Thomas and Jeffrey and Fitzgerald for the Waffles versus Tate, Crabtree, and right now Curse for the Jaguars, who's a Jet. Yes, an offensive Jet. Actually, 2 offensive Jets in my lineup right now. What are you going to do? Not much of an advantage there. If anything, probably the Waffles. And then you got Hunter Henry and Kelsey. Kelsey, obviously, the advantage. And then the kickers and the defenses, Packers versus Panthers, Hopkins versus Prater. That's all the same. So I definitely think that the Waffles have the edge here over the Jaguars. The site has the Waffles as the 15-point favorite. I don't think it'll be that high. I hope it's not that high. I do think the Waffles will win. I think they have the advantage. I'm going to go Waffles by 7.5 here. I'm going to give them a little bit of a big spread, and this, for me, that's a big spread. But I think the Waffles will indeed hit 3-0, and the Jaguars will be 1-2, and in a little bit of trouble there in the Hartwick. But, you never know. We'll see what happens. No one here has a Thursday player, and Pete's got the only Monday player going, so maybe it'll come down to Fitzgerald Monday night. We'll see. But the Waffles by 7.5. And that brings us to our 4th matchup of the week between the T-Bone Steakhouse and the People's Champ. People's Champ comes in at 2-0. Surprisingly, they have not looked great, especially in week 1. They only managed 80 points, but still in week 2 did have a very nice week with just under 112. Todd's team, though, looks pretty decent on paper. He's got Cousins at quarterback, who's a stat machine. Hasn't really provided that huge spark yet, but should be coming. Fournette, the rookie, has been nice at running back. Miller's been, he's been decent. He's a pretty decent number 2. Beckham is finally back. Didn't explode last week, but it's coming. Hopefully against Philly, he will. And Cooks, we're still waiting for him to be, to be that special player that we all think he's going to be this year at the high pick for Todd. Sass, on the other hand, has Brady, who, he was Brady last week. Looked awesome. So that's nice to see for him. And against Houston at home, it's going to be a pretty solid game for him, I think. Lynch is definitely in beast mode now, playing in his hometown of Oakland. That looks like it might be a nice pick for Sass. With Johnson going down for him, though, that second running back is going to be tough right now. He's got Derrick Henry in there. We'll see what Murray's status is. I mean, Henry's definitely going to get touches one way or the other, but right now we'll see what happens with Murray, because if he's not the starter, it might be tough. Hogan, we'll see. He had a good week last week, thanks to Brady, who was the Baron Cocaine winner last week. Hilton, we're still waiting for him to get a quarterback. If he doesn't get a quarterback, it's going to be a long season. Until Luck comes back, at least, it's going to be a long season. Reed versus Clay. Clay was just picked up off waivers, dumped by the Jaguars. I wouldn't expect much there. Bailey is obviously very good. Lutz is very good. Seahawks defense and Eagles defense, both very good. This game has the potential of being really close. I think that they'll both probably break 100. I'm thinking about between 100 and 110 for both these teams. I kind of like Todd here a little bit. The site actually has Todd favored by 10 points exactly, 105 to 95. I think it'll be a little closer. I'm thinking 105, 100. So I'll give T-Bone the 5-point advantage. So Steakhouse by 5. Now we have the Portland Funk and the Black Thunder. Funk come in at 0-2. They can knock it out of their own way. Have not been able to score, despite the very impressive-looking trio of wide receivers in Jordy Nelson, Doug Baldwin, and Jarvis Landry. 3 great names, but they have yet to really do anything. Granted, Nelson went down early in week 2 and did not play essentially the whole game. But he seems to be okay now, and he's coming back, so we'll see. The Thunder have been very impressive so far in their first 2 games, only 1-1, but they did lose to number 1 Tough Nuts last week in a high-scoring affair, like 130 to 123, something like that. They were the 3rd highest scorer of the week and lost. So far they've been actually pretty good. They come in as the number 6 ranked team, while the Funk come in at number 11. Essentially, really, only the Models have been worse than them. But the Funk need to turn it around. They have the names to do it. Drew Brees, Delvin Cook, the old man Frank Gore, the 3 wide receivers I had mentioned. Benjamin Watson, a free agent pickup for Stork. Maybe he can provide some points. He had a good week last week. See if he can do it again. Probably not likely. The Colts D against Cleveland. It's an interesting defense to start, but when they're playing Cleveland, a rookie quarterback, Coleman down, maybe it's a good start. We'll see. Or maybe Cleveland actually puts up some points. We'll see. And Justin Tucker, the number 1 kicker in some minds, 1 or 2 kicker in fantasy football, at least coming into this year. Now Thunder have Russell Wilson at quarterback, obviously a good quarterback in the league. Very inconsistent in fantasy for stats wise. You know he's going to be solid, but Seattle has not looked all that impressive on offense, and Russell Wilson is yet to score. But maybe this week at Tennessee, tough D, maybe not. We'll see. C.J. Anderson coming off one of his best weeks in recent memory, scored a shitload of points here in fantasy last week. Very, very impressive week. If he can do that all season, Thunder are going to be okay. Chris Thompson had a very good week. He's now inserted into the Thunder lineup. Gillislee again. That first week is going to be hard to equal on a week in, week out basis, but he's been solid. So maybe he does it again this week. Devontae Adams going against his counterpart there, Jordy Nelson for the Funk. Amari Cooper is yet to really impress, but he's he's good and he's going to be good. And against Washington this week, he's bound to have his big week. Crabtree has really been stealing the spotlight so far, but Cooper should have his day here. And Bennett, solid. Bryant and the Bucks D. I mean, this is 2 teams that right now, on paper they look pretty even. The site actually has the Funk as the 10-point favorite, scoring just under 117 points. Now, it's going to be hard for me to believe that they're going to do that until we actually see them do it, because they haven't broken 100 yet. This year. So, and the Thunder have done very well. They've been over 100 both weeks, and last week they were 3rd highest scorer with 123. So, until I see the Funk actually do it, it's going to be hard to say that they're going to score that much, or to even favor them against the Thunder squad, who have looked pretty good. So, I am going to say that I'm actually going to do a total flop from the site. I'm going to say Thunder at 116 and the Funk at 106, and I'm going to give Barco the biggest advantage of the week at 10 points. So good luck to you, Hartwick teams. I hope you tie. And now last but not least, our final matchup of the week between the number 4 Bell squad coming in at 1-1 versus the number 8 Tuna squad coming in at 0-2. Luckily for Tuna, they're 0-2, and the 40 are 0-2. And the Models are 0-2, and the Bells are 1-1. So that division right now is only has 1 win to show for it in 8 games. So I'm sure that'll change, but not here, because only one team's going to win this one. And hopefully for Tuna, it's them, but we'll see. The Bells come in, as the Bells do, right there at 500. We'll probably win the division, make the playoffs, but it's still early, so we'll see. This matchup got started last night in the Thursday night game. Garcon actually had a really impressive day for Tuna, going for 17.7 total points on 7 receptions for 142 yards. Nice way to get that one started with their 3rd receiver. It's good. It's a good sign for the week, so maybe this is Tuna's week. The Bells do have Jay Ajayi and Ty Montgomery, who looked very, very good last week. It's a very solid running back pair there. Wide receivers in Martavius Bryant, AJ Green, and Keenan Allen. AJ Green, top pick for the Bells, and the Bengals are just crap. And hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, they can focus on Green in the offense more and get him the ball more. But it's going to be tough in Green Bay this week, so I wouldn't expect much from Green, especially if they're talking about benching Dalton. I don't know what's going to happen there. So that might be hurt. That might be a tough one to swallow all year for the Bells. We'll see. Walker, Gostkowski, and the Broncos D, very solid bottom three. Probably one of the best in the league because of that defense and the kicker. And Walker is obviously a solid tight end, so that might do a little better than Thomas, Boswell, and the Patriots D. For Lender, although the Patriots D going up against Houston at home is a pretty solid matchup there for Lender. It's one of those weeks where the defense might actually provide close to 20 points, so we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one. DeAndre Hopkins looked pretty good last week with Watson throwing to him. If he could do that again, and he could be solid all year, it's going to be a nice pick for Hopkins, who dropped dramatically this year in the draft, considering where he was last year. McCaffrey and Mixon, that's yet to prove themselves. McCaffrey has all the talent in the world, but just hasn't translated yet into fantasy. And Mixon has on that Bengals team that has just done nothing. And they have 3 running backs that they go to, so it's going to be hard to pick the right one every week if there even is a right one from week to week with the Bengals. And Big Ben at quarterback, always solid, always good. Look for him to be throwing to Antonio Brown when there's other receiver. So that could be a nice connection all week. Brown was kept out of the end zone last week, so maybe this week he'll get 2. We'll see. But that's at Chicago, which has potential to be high scoring for Pittsburgh, but it's always hard to judge a team on the road. So who really knows? So the site actually has this game as basically even. They have the Bells at 117 and Tuna at 116.89. So 0.11 is the difference. It's not horrible. I'm going to favor the Bells for sure. Lender's got to show us that he can actually score some points and do something here. Like I said, Garcon's already started it, and he got off to a good start, so that's a good sign. But I'm going to go Bells by 3.5. I like the field goal and reception difference for the Bells to go to 2-1, and for Lender to drop to 0-3, which would be devastating for him. But we'll see what happens. Enjoy. So that will do it for another edition of the Commissioner's Weekly Picks Game Analysis. I hope you enjoyed it. Big week 3 here, division week. Can't stress it enough. It's division week. These games are huge. So hope everyone enjoys the game. I hope the Giants get out of their fucking... Just win. Just do something. Wake up. It's so fucking annoying. So enjoy the games. I look forward to watching these week 3 games. And I wish you all luck. Don't forget to set your lineups and be kind to one another.